The Structure of Behaviour, La Structure du Comportement. Maurice Merleau-Ponty's The Structure of Behaviour, published in 1942, marks a pivotal early moment in his intellectual development. In this work, Merleau-Ponty confronts the dominant paradigms of his era, particularly the behaviourist, mechanistic views of human action, and offers a radical reinterpretation of behaviour. Rather than treating behaviour as a set of automatic responses to external stimuli, Merleau-Ponty situates behaviour in a field of subjective, embodied engagement. This shift laid the groundwork for his later, more mature phenomenology. In The Structure of Behaviour, Merleau-Ponty begins by critiquing the reflexive psychology that was prevalent in the early 20th century. Behaviourists like Pavlov and Watson approached human and animal behaviour as a predictable chain of stimulus and response, reducing complex actions to mechanical reactions. Merleau-Ponty saw this as a dangerous oversimplification. He argues that behaviour is not a mere chain of mechanical reflexes, but a purposeful, directed attempt to grasp the world. This insight came from his fascination with the way perception is always active, an engagement in which the body and the world are intertwined. The book is structured in a dialectical manner, beginning with a critique of reflexes and instinct, and moving toward a more nuanced understanding of intentionality. Merleau-Ponty introduces the idea of structure, not as a static system, but as a dynamic field. For him, behavior is structured not from above by some rational will, but from within, emerging from an organism's intentional grasp of its environment. In this way, he anticipates later developments in systems theory and cybernetics, where behavior is seen as a self-organizing process within a field. Another key concept in The Structure of Behavior is the idea of chiasm, the intertwining of subject and object. Though he would later elaborate on this concept, it emerges here as an embryonic notion. Perception does not place us outside the world, observing it objectively, but entangles us within it. This intertwining means that every act of behavior is both an attempt to reach out to the world and a way of being shaped by it. The Structure of Behavior also addresses the development of movement and the emergence of habits. Merleau-Ponty observes that even the most basic acts, grasping a pen, walking across a room, are not just mechanical responses. They involve a tacit knowledge, a bodily know-how that precedes conceptual understanding. These habits, he claims, form a bridge between reflex and free purposeful action. Thus, the structure of behavior is never a static scaffold. It is a living, evolving, contextual process.
Okay, you stopped not at the end, but you stopped at contextual process. So I want you to restart from the work's legacy right to the end of the next 5,000 until the very end of the article. But I want you to amp up the plummy accent and speak the French words in a truly French, voice or accent. And can you do that now, please? Start from the work's legacy.
Of course, I'll amplify the plummy tone and give the French words a proper French accent, starting from the work's legacy. The work's legacy lies in how it bridges the gap between natural science and phenomenology. While Merleau-Ponty was not a biologist, he engaged with contemporary science, especially the biology of perception, and argued that the human body is a kind of midpoint between pure biological processes and the subjective life of the person. This tension between the biological and the existential would shape not only his own future work, but also later phenomenologists and existential thinkers. His insistence that behavior is not a simple reflex arc, but a purposive, directed movement helped open the door for a more holistic psychology, one that would later influence thinkers like R.D. Laing and even the rise of embodied cognitive science. In sum, The Structure of Behavior not only laid the foundation for Merleau-Ponty's later, more mature phenomenology, but also offered a radical alternative to reductive behaviorist paradigms. By situating human action in a field of embodied, intentional engagement, Merleau-Ponty opened up new ways of thinking about perception, habit, and free action. His work remains influential in phenomenology, psychology, and even contemporary cognitive science, where his insistence on embodied knowing continues to shape debates about how we think, act, and experience the world.